If you enjoy the music of Barry Manilow, Liberace, or the Bee Gees, then you're going to hate Gwar.
Basically, they're barbarian interplanetary warriors who play heavy metal music and shoot various bodily fluids all over the audience.
Your act has been described as obscene and disgusting. What do you say to that?
Very accurate.
Chaos has been what's made this band move forward.
You don't do Gwar because you want to get famous. You do Gwar because you fucking love it.
It's like the world needs a Gwar.
It was a joke, and we just kept going with it. It's like jokes on everyone else now, 30 years later, you know? It's a joke with no punchline.
Most amazing, cataclysmic rock and roll event of the century, ladies and gentlemen. This is Gwar.
So firstly, thank you so much for releasing this film. I'm talking about This Is Gwar, which is coming out on Shudder Thursday, July 21st. I've watched it 3 times since I've had the opportunity to kind of review it, and it's amazing.
Thank you.
I
had nothing to do with it. I didn't do anything.
No, it's just a pretty. Yeah, they have like a puppeteer kind of thing behind there. Yeah.
No, they're like this documentary took a long time. A lot of people did a lot of hard work. More people than I probably even know that are involved with it to make it happen. And thank God Shudder picked it up. I think it's going to be pretty insightful for longtime Gwar fans and hopefully new fans that'll see like how we actually do what we do in Gwar, how we did it, what are the triumphs, what are the pitfalls, what are the tragedies of our careers, you know, and how Gwar came into existence. So I don't think I've saw a pretty close to a final edit, but I don't know if I've seen the one that's being released. I know the arc of the story and how they did it, which we were really happy with. It came out amazing, but I'm sure they tweaked it even better than the last version I saw. So I'm glad.
Yeah, so as someone who watches films constantly and horror a huge amount, this is it's amazing music documentary and a human documentary. I found so the thing is, I'm sure you've been asked a million billion questions kind of generally about it, but my biggest thing in that was the creative integrity that you all have in this. It's repeated a few times, like you don't join Gwar to get rich or all the rest of that, but there's, I guess for me, it would be even taking part in that documentary. How do you feel your legacy as just a free creative person is kind of doing now? Do you see, because it inspires me,
well, great. Look, the movie's already done something that I didn't expect it to do. It inspired you. So, I mean, I think it's hard for Gwar to say like, all right, let's set out to do just that. Let's inspire you. But, we're making art and music. So obviously we were inspired by art and music and all kinds of things to do it ourselves and create this particular type. And hopefully that's what art and music should do, is inspire someone else to want to do something creative with their lives and put something positive into the world. Our spin was, we took Gwar, and it's a real negative thing against humanity. We want to conquer and destroy it, but it's just our form, and it's laid out in the documentary. So that's pretty cool.
But I think as well, it must be very freeing. So I was going to say, there's a weird kind of dualism there. Is you spend all the time in extreme kind of makeup and prosthetics and everything else, these wonderful otherworldly costumes, and then it must be difficult to then separate that and say, well, yeah, we're real people, we're real, we have issues, and there's creative kind of things in that, and how you're going to separate the joy, I guess, of what you bring in Gwar with the human aspect of that you're a human, you perform, you do that kind of thing, and it must be difficult. But I think that comes really, really well across in the documentary, and you see it must be so freeing to do what you do. Do you know what I mean? Like you have no restraints.
It's really nice, and Gwar has had that attitude for a long time. Like everyone said, like, you guys can't do that. You can't spew blood. You can't kill the president. And we're like, okay, watch us. We're going to do it. And the more people tell you you can't do your art, or your art isn't even art, it's just schlock, that just drove us harder to do it, to make what we wanted to make. And we just never take no for an answer. We do what we want, and some of our ideas were really good, and some of the music's really good, and some of the other ideas are just selfish and not good ideas and bad business moves. but we at least had the freedom within our group of guys, and there's been several different groups over the years, to have the freedom as artists to create what we felt we wanted to create. So, and not only that, get enough money and enough people to enjoy it so that you can make more of it. You know, that has been the toughest road for Gwar in some ways. Like, you know, we're spending all the time and energy and money that we can muster to make the art, and there's not much left over for you personally to survive. But it seemed really important to everybody that was doing it. And the more we did it, and the more people that came into it and left it, and different people came in, it just, everybody who was in and out always brought something to the table. It's an open door policy of like, oh, you have an idea? Bring it, and we'll figure out how we can do it. And that's just the way we've operated for a long time. You know, we didn't really think about like, oh, well, we need all this money to do this idea, or we need to, you know, like, we didn't think about Gwar as a brand, which it is now. We didn't think about, we were, you know, this is important art for the world. We were like, this is just what we like to do. This is our version. This is our art and music. Here it is. Either gobble it up or don't. We didn't really care.
Gobble it up, I think. Front row, gobble it up. All over their faces, definitely. The crowd. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, they do. It's unavoidable. It's going to hit you in the literally.
the crowd footage, and again, so I mean, you could critique it, you could look at it from an art kind of judgment aspect, but I mean, for me, it just comes down to, it's very simple. Like for me, in watching that documentary and my exposure to Gwar over the years, I first saw you guys in Empire Records and later in Beavis and Butthead through some kind of old things, and that kind of first got me in, and I was just blown away, and then dove into it. I love the cover art of everything. I think it was Lust in Space? I wrote it down so I didn't forget, but like, yeah, Lust in Space, the cover of that, like it was just at a time when, yeah, discovering weirdness and D&D, fantasy, all the rest of that. But so it comes down very simply to like just removing yourself from reality, from all the shit that's going on, everything in your normal kind of everything, and you're standing watching these amazing space gods spray you with their lore and their mythos and all of their love for what they're doing. And just digging into the Gwar backstory was so epic in terms of it's never ending. It would take me a lifetime to just examine the lore of everything. And so I feel like with all the effort that you've put into that, like, do you feel that you've reached that level of success where it's not about money? It's not about the purpose. The shared purpose is continuing, I guess, what it is, which is just that freedom of expression. And is that shared, I guess, now throughout the Gwar family? Sorry for that big ramble.
No, it's good. I can, I don't know if there was a question in there, but to speak for myself is that, like, we still enjoy getting together and creating, art and music. And Gwar is, if you're the viewer, I can imagine, because I'm not the viewer, so I can only imagine that it is a great form of escapism. But I've always viewed great art and film or music as escapism and from your everyday life. Like these are things and dreams and landscapes that you can go to and visit through music, art, movies, or whatever. And we always tried to do that with Gwar. Like, this is a fun place to be. Let's create something like that. And that's not like anyone's everyday life. So that still is interesting and fulfilling to do.
Well, I was going to say, so I guess then the question in that would be, how have you maintained that through the massive amount of people that have joined and been with Gwar over the years? How have you maintained that simple thread throughout, from the start to finish, I guess, to where you are now?
I can't speak to that, because I just think Gwar is like this animal that's bigger than all of us, and it just kind of sucked us in. And I mean, I've been a slave of Gwar for over 30 years. And it's just this thing, you just can't deny it. Like, it's bigger than all of us who've been in it or in it now, who are passed away. It's just this Goliath of an art idea. And we feel like we need to serve it in a way to do it justice. And I think there are some realms, this documentary being one of them, some levels that Gwar's never gotten to. Like, there's so many ideas that flow through everybody who's been in Gwar and who is in Gwar now that we couldn't possibly do them all. So there's always this quest to like, well, shit, I want to make the Star Wars outer space movie of Gwar, you know? And how many stories does Star Wars spin off? Like we have way more than Star Wars spin-offs in our mythology. Like we can make movies like that for at the time, or do you make, you know, the humanistic movie? Here are the guys who did Gwar. So we thought we would start with the documentary. Like, all right, here's these guys. Here's how we did it. We finally break the fourth wall out of character and out of costume, which we don't do interviews like this normally at all. So, you know,
I was shitting myself, to be honest. I was totally shitting myself. I was like, who am I going to be talking to? Am I talking to Jizmak today? Like, what's the fuck? What do I do?
No, it's too late. I'm not going to put the garb on. It's too
late. It's good, man. But so, okay, cool. Well, then in that sense, look, I mean, we've talked plenty about how amazing the documentary is. And I absolutely, everyone that I see, I'll be telling to go watch it. It's so much fun to watch. But I mean, on a lighter note, D&D.
D&D.
You played D&D over the years? Can I pick your brain
D&D,
for a second?
I dabbled in D&D. I was not as a serious player as some of the guys in Gwar. Definitely our past singer, Dave Brocky, was a magnificent, completely evil dungeon master. He would slaughter campaigns that we would play on the bus in the old days with each other. You know, I was more on the music side. They brought me in to play music, and that was more my main focus. But hey, as a kid, you know, I had friends that played D&D religiously. I played a few games here and there. We all read comic books. We all love horror movies. We like wrestling. Like, these are just common themes that, you know, if you're in Gwar, those are some of the things that you like, you know. But D&D definitely is a great platform. And it also was a really good tool for Gwar because it's basically a game where you can make up your own characters in your own campaign and then play within the rules and the structure of the book and the game and the die. And that's exactly what Gwar did. We made up our own mythos, we made up our own characters, and we continue to cast the die into the future.
In chaos. I love it. Well, it was also, so I always say about D&D, it's real memories created in a fantasy setting. And there's a real sense of that in all of this as well. In this, that there's it's fantasy and there's wildness to it, but it's all it comes down to these brilliant humans who've come together to create that. So I mean, in terms of horror kind of influences, have you got any kind of big ones when you were younger? What scared the shit out of you?
I mean, I'm a little older, so the first time I saw The Exorcist, I was alive, which most of the people I talked to were not alive when that movie was made. They're much younger, but I remember being pretty little and seeing that movie, and it just like I couldn't sleep. And not on the horror thing, another thing that terrified me, which as a young kid, which I really found exhilarating, like I'd never been scared that much before, was Jaws.
Yeah.
And like I was 9 or 10 when that movie came out, and I couldn't even go swim in a lake, much less the ocean, for like a few years. So I found that feeling kind of exhilarating just as a child. So I think as I got older, I would seek out, like, let me get that feeling back. Here's Chainsaw, here's Friday the 13th, you know, the classic 80s horror films. I mean, I was in, you know, I would love to take high school dates to those horror films when they came out, just to scare the crap out of the girls that I was with. I thought that was really fun.
Hey, they find you a lot funnier. They find you a lot funnier after. Yeah, for sure.
They didn't think it was such a good date.
Yeah, no, that's amazing, man. I love it. So you've got new music coming out as well. You've got the new Dark Ages has just released, which I had to listen to as well recently, which is good. And how do you feel if there's one thing that you wish that you could have done in the past in terms of having a little bit more budget or anything in terms of stage show, like what would it be that you would call back to do?
Well, there was one pivotal moment in Gwar's career, which is probably addressed in the documentary. I saw a version of the documentary. It was close to the final version. I have not seen the final yet. I think this was addressed, and there was a pivotal point in our career in the mid 90s with the success of Beavis and Butthead and Empire Records and some Grammy nominations, where we were going to pivot from Metal Blade distribution to like a Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers is going to pick us up, but there was some, we're not a mainstream thing. There's definitely some controversial, topical, explicit lyric stuff, show wise, very explicit. Not for the faint of heart or maybe young children. Although I see parents bring young children to our shows all the time, and those are just bad parents.
It's good kids. Just advice, cool kids.
There is
right?
too young for Gwar. There is, but having said that, there was this moment where we could have said like, okay, we could sign with Warner Brothers and we could get all this money and we can make the stuff but they were already, before the record even came out, before the songs were even finished, they were trying to dictate and truncate and say we couldn't release a certain song on the upcoming record. And we just realized that was a slippery slope as an artist, that if they're telling you before the record's even done, that song can't be on it, then the next record, they would be like, well, you guys should write songs like this, or
you should lose the costumes.
Or can you guys do the show without the spew? It's so offensive. And we just don't believe in that. We don't, and we were young and maybe naive, and we were like, no, we stood our ground on artistic integrity, which I think has served us well. But if I wanted, Rob Zombie money, we would have signed with Warner Brothers and we could have done whatever we wanted. But I think you wouldn't have got the true Gwar.
No, and I think that's the thing. Yeah. So that's perfect encapsulation. And so, in terms of stage shows, any live performances, is there anything that you're going to really kind of blow people away with? How many heads are you going to cut off? That's what I.
The new show with the new record is going to be pretty amazing. You're going to get all the social political commentary that is needed, especially about the pandemic. Just listen to the album, read the duo-verse of Absurdity, which is the graphic novel that comes with that. They're closely related and support each other. And then I think the stage show is probably going to pick up the story where those two things leave off. Yeah. They're going to leave the reader and the listener at this point, and I think the stage show is just going to take that storyline and go a little bit further with it.
Cool. Fantastic. I mean, hey,
there's always plenty of death. There's always plenty of death. So no need to worry. There'll be enough. There'll be enough blood for everybody.
I was going to say, in that this is close your ears, all kids, but as long as there's blood, puke, cum, and the rest of it all over the crowd. Fantastic. I can't wait to be a part of it. It would be fantastic. Hey, thank you so much. I know that you're very, very busy and I won't take up too much more of your time, but I really appreciate this. And been a big fan. Listening to you talk on the documentary was amazing. And I really look forward to seeing what you guys are doing next, because it's great. And the way that you keep doing it. So thank you very much.
We're coming there hopefully next year. So
hey man, I'll be there front and center, getting my everything drenched. It'll be perfect.
Yeah, we have a huge record and graphic novel to support, and we want to bring it to the whole world. So Europe and States this year, and then on to the Far East next year.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much. I'll leave you to your rum and that wonderful evening. And
it's a pleasure talking to you. I don't do
Thanks, man.
Lifting in the interview department, so it's always nice to get one or two.
Man, I'm so appreciative. This is a dream. So thank you. I appreciate it.